What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, just welcome. Today I'm revisiting a case that I did a few months back. It was only the second true crime case I had ever covered, and I told you guys I wanted to revisit the first one, Joey Lynn Offit, and the second one, Clinton Nelson, because I felt like I was real jittery and stuttery. I just didn't like the way the videos came out. Now, I mentioned on the Aaron Gillern case, I think it was part one, that one of his family members had told me what a great job I did, especially on the timeline, and it made me feel really good. First, I want to say that I'm only going to be summarizing the case of Clinton Nelson because the new information I have has to do with the night of his disappearance. I cannot possibly go through the entire video again. I mean, that's like twice the work for me when you guys can just go and watch it right here. But please do that. Otherwise, you're not going to understand what I'm talking about. And it's very important that you do. And anyone who watched that video, you're going to want to watch this. Now, I told you guys from the beginning when I saw Clinton's case on the Disappeared episode that it touched me, just seeing his mom, and he just had this great energy about him. I don't usually attract like that to Leos as far as energy because they're a little bit more boisterous than I am as a Pisces if we're talking in astrology. But Clinton just had this, seemingly had this, because I didn't know him personally, this demeanor about him where he just seemed really mellow energy, chill energy, right? And it just touched me. So with that being said, I want to talk a little bit about the truth, right? Where did I get my information from? First of all, when filming that video, I was one of two videos that I could find about Clinton's case on YouTube, right? I couldn't find anything else. There might be more by now, but I doubt it. So where did I get my information? I got it from two sources. The Unfound podcast, which was a long interview with Clinton's mother, and the Disappeared episode. Now, I did say allegedly and supposedly a lot when talking about theories and talking about one theory and one, I don't want to say suspect, one person that was there that night in particular. And the reason I decided to revisit this is because I'm just a true crime channel, right? How do I know if what I'm telling you guys is fact or not? Just because it's on Investigation Discovery doesn't mean it's fact. In fact, it might be more, elaborate or fabricated to up ratings or to get people more interested. I don't think the interview with Clinton's mother, that she fabricated anything or was doing anything for dramatization purposes, but she wasn't there that night, right? So she also can only go by what she heard and take all the information that she has and come to her own reasonable conclusion. So I'm going to summarize the case, and we're going to be talking today about Larry Gillespie. Somebody reached out to me saying they were Larry Gillespie, and I may be naive, but I do believe it was him. Again, energy, and I know some of you guys hate when I say that, but he wasn't too happy. Now, he wasn't overtly rude or obnoxious or anything. He was just trying to tell me, like, look, this is what happened. He told me he never spoke to ID. So I'll get into that, but I think it's important that we have all of the possible information that's out there. And I'm going to tell you something else. Another reason I'm doing this is I don't want the next person who decides to do a video on Clinton Nelson to have my video as a source and they don't have all of the information and it just keeps perpetuating and going on and on. I believe everybody's truth deserves to be told, and I'm not going to silence Mr. Gillespie, and I'm going to go with that it was him speaking to me. The man was reasonable and rational, and I believed him, what he said. So I want to apologize, first of all, to Mr. Gillespie, but as I just said, I can only go on the information that I have, and admittedly, you never did interviews with anybody, so there's no information about you or your truth out there. And I promised you that I would do that. I'm a woman of my word. I don't believe discounting someone because they're allegedly a drug addict, because we don't know that about you, or because their house is allegedly a drug house, or just because Clinton was at your house the night he disappeared. I don't believe in that, And I think if you look at my other videos, my hot mess recovery videos, you'll know that I don't believe in that. I don't believe that the media is the authority on everything and always get it right or always report the facts. So with all of that being said, please stick around. Please wait till the end and let me know what you guys think, okay? I believe this is Larry and I believe what he's saying. I really don't want to dispute with you whether or not it's Larry, but I will talk to you about what you think about his truth. So let's just dive right in, a quick recap of the case, and then we're going to go through the theories that I stated before, and then I'm going to tell you what Larry and I talked about. Thank you, Larry, for this information so that we can get it out there. And I know my small channel isn't going to make too much of a difference, but as I said, who knows who's going to come along and use my channel as a source. So here it is. I promised you I wanted to tell your truth. So here goes. So Clinton Devin Nelson was a give you the shirt off his back kind of guy, according to everyone who knew him. He grew up in Spearfish, South Dakota, with his mother. His parents had like a summer romance and his mom got pregnant. They tried to work it out, but they were teenagers. It didn't work out. His father, named Jeff, is from Louisiana. Clinton was a really good student. He was super smart, but at some point in his high school career, he went down the wrong path and started using drugs. When he was clean for 2 years, about 2 years, he decided he wanted to go to Louisiana to meet his father. His father was like kind of in and out of his life a little bit when he was growing up, but he always had this longing and this need to know where he came from, to know his roots. So he went down to Louisiana to visit, or to live with, actually, his father, stepmother, and some siblings and other family. His mother, Carolyn, was really worried, but she spoke to Clinton's father, and Clinton's father assured her that he was not the same man, obviously, he was when he was a young kid, and he was going to watch out for and protect Clinton and keep an eye out to see if there were any signs of relapse and stuff like that, just to make sure Clinton was staying on the right path. Jeffrey assured her, and Carolyn felt happy for her son that he was going on this journey in life. Maybe he would finally get the peace and the closure that he needed. Clinton started working on an oil rig, making great money. He really excelled at this job. A couple weeks before he went missing, he got into an accident on the rig and had a broken collarbone, some broken ribs. So his arm was like in a sling. So keep that in mind for when we talk about the night he disappeared. I also want to mention that while it's a fact that Clinton was clean for 2 years before he decided to move to Louisiana, there are reports that he was clean up until his disappearance, and I'm pretty sure that that's not true, because a few weeks before he went missing, he got arrested for having Xanax, MDMA, marijuana, and drug paraphernalia on his person. Nobody bothered to let his mother know. His father decided that it wasn't that big of a deal. And I can see that, honestly. Being a drug addict myself, even though I'm in recovery, I can kind of see how you wouldn't think that's a big deal, but I can see how his mother would, as someone who had never done drugs and doesn't know about that life. So I want to read to you something that I said just so we can introduce Larry so you know who he is, although I really suggest you watching the original video. I wrote, on the night of September 1st, 2006, Clinton went to a party at the owner of the welding shop he had helped out at, Larry Gillespie's house on the 800 block of Ward Lane in Princeton, Louisiana. Okay, so that's introducing Larry Gillespie. He was a friend. Clinton helped out at his welding shop, and this is the place where Clinton disappeared from. I reported to you that allegedly this house was a drug spot. I reported to you that Larry was allegedly a known drug dealer and a drug user. I reported to you because this is what I heard on the disappeared episode and in a couple news articles. So it wasn't just me making things up, but this is what I reported to you, okay? That there were so many different theories going around about what had happened to Clinton that night, that he was bragging about how much money he had on him, and maybe someone there who didn't have very much money, because there were 40 to 60 people at this party, most of which were getting high, drinking, that somebody robbed him or killed him. There was a theory that Clinton overdosed and they did something with his body. Some people said at 8:30 p.m. Clinton went outside to have a cigarette and ran into the woods, never to be seen again. Some people say he walked off, never to be seen again. And some people said he got picked up, never to be seen again. Something that Larry said to me really stuck with me, and unfortunately, I did not screenshot the entire conversation before we decided that we were going to delete it so that nobody harassed Larry. So some of it I am going to have to sum up, but I promise you I am telling the truth of what the conversation was. Okay, Larry, I promise, to the best of my memory. I'm going to try to just stick with what I have in front of me so as not to get anything wrong. So, something that came up that made me start to really think maybe Larry is telling the truth is because I also reported, and it's a fact, according to Clinton's phone records, that at 10:30 p.m., he called his father and told him he was running through the woods, he was being chased by the police. Then nobody ever heard from Clinton again. There were no police anywhere near. There were no police dispatched. There were no police on foot, in cars, on the highway. There were no police anywhere near Larry's house that night dispatched for any reason to have their lights on. And if Clinton walked off, ran off, got a ride to go off at 8:30, like almost everybody reported, what was he doing in the woods? Who said he was in the woods by Larry's house, right? He was just in the woods. And this is 2 hours. He's got a broken collarbone, arm in a sling, broken ribs. No. So let's get into what Larry and I discussed, because I don't want this to be a super long video because I did already cover this case. This is just really important, guys. We can't discount people because they're allegedly drug addicts. We can't discount people because the words drug use and drug dealer and drug addict are involved. You know me, I won't stand for it to the best of my ability. So Larry responded and commented underneath the Clinton Nelson video, quote, "You have no idea what you are talking about. I have taken a polygraph test and passed. I told the police everything I knew. People like you are talking about things that are assumed and not stating facts. Here is a fact for you. There were 4 people here that night. Fact 2. He left my house around 8:30 on foot. There was no overdose. There was no fight. There was no murder. If the cops would have done their jobs and searched his phone records, then they would have seen who he talked to last. That person knows what happened. I was not and am not a dealer and never have been. I have used recreationally, but that's it. Since this has all happened and everyone assumed I had something to do with this tragedy, my life has been misery. I sincerely hope Miss Carolyn finds her son. I've done my fair share of looking also. Whomever did this, if anyone should come clean for her sake. If I could take back that night and just tell him to go home, I would. Clint was a friend and always will be." End quote. Okay, so admittedly, he came off as kind of dickish, and I came off as bitchy and sarcastic. The conversation ended well, but unfortunately, I do not have the entire thing that I said back to him. But I started with, quote, "Well, I'm very sorry I offended your delicate sensibilities, sir, but how can you blame me when all I have is the information I see and hear on the television and internet? I'd love to hear your story and everything I'm pretty sure I went on to say everything I said. I'm pretty sure it was allegedly. I have to rewatch the video because I don't remember coming out right and accusing you. Stuff like that. You know, I was basically telling him, like, look, I went on what I had. This is what the disappeared episode implied. But he's right. They weren't stating it as fact. But they were stating there were so many people there. It makes more sense there were only 4 people there at 8:30 at night to me. Just something about it, whether there's this giant party going on and Clinton just runs off. For as many witnesses as there were, I don't know. Like I said, I just got something off this guy that it felt right. And I'm not saying he's telling the truth, but I'm definitely not saying the disappeared episode is telling the truth. And Clinton's mom can only tell her truth. That's all she knows is what she was told as well. This is someone that was there. It was his house. So, like I said, I only had bits and pieces of the conversation, and the rest I'll summarize. So I basically said to Larry, because I thought that he had said he knew who had picked Clinton up. Like he had implied, but he actually didn't. If you listen to what I just said, he said he did not say that. And I said, surely if you came forward and told the police who picked him up from your house, you could get immunity. You know, I was being very sarcastic. He replied, and there were like 3 replies in between that. I just didn't get them. Larry, I'm sorry. Quote, "Gemma Jade, I never said I knew who picked him up. I know he was looking for a ride and left my house on foot on his phone. That's the last time I saw him. Somebody was talking to him on the phone and he had to call somebody for a ride. But you are correct. Cops heard drugs and addicts, not people or person, and decided it wasn't that serious until damn near 2 weeks went by. They actually used my yard as headquarters for the search party, end quote. I did say that. I said I can definitely see how, with all the rumors and speculation about drugs and Clinton using drugs because of his drug charge and your supposed reputation as this big time dealer and you having a drug house, that Disappeared episode basically did put out there, and several news articles, right? I told him I could see how it would be NHI, no humans involved. So I did extend that olive branch to let him know, like, listen, I do want to hear your side, because I did. This case has stuck with me since the first time I saw it, when it first aired all those years ago. I've never forgotten Clinton or his mother. So here's some of what I wrote back. Quote, I definitely agree with what you just said. The minute the police and most people hear even one of those words, let alone multiple, it becomes a non-emergency. NHI, when you said they should look at his phone to see who he last spoke to, it seemed to me, and I guess I assumed, I'm sorry, you knew who that was. I understand now. Left on foot and was calling for a ride. I was gonna revisit that video anyway because it was only my second true crime case ever. I also think those keywords are why there's nothing on YouTube about him. I don't know the rest of what I said, so we'll end quote. The keywords of, those keywords that people keep hearing: addict, drugs, drug house, dealer, methamphetamine. A lot of people, and I dealt with this. I got my first negative comment last night from someone who's been trolling me across multiple sites, but I'm going to do a video about that next. So people hear those kinds of things, and you guys know this started and still is at its core an addiction and recovery channel, and I will not stand for intolerance or injustice towards addicts. Whether he used recreationally or not, whether Clinton was an addict or not. Clinton was a recovering addict, which means he was technically an addict. So let's talk about that. Who cares? I do. Who am I? I'm nobody. But I'm going to make sure the facts get out there to whoever watches my videos. Sorry, I'm getting all Irished up here. So I responded to that. Quote, I definitely agree with what you just said. The minute the police and most people hear even one of those words, let alone multiple, it becomes a non-emergency. NHI. When you said they should look at his phone to see who he last spoke to, it seemed to me, and I guess I assumed, sorry, you knew who that was. I understand now. Left on foot and was calling for a ride. I was going to revisit that video anyways because it was only my second true crime case ever. I also think those keywords are why there is nothing on YouTube about him. Maybe 3 videos, question mark. At least at the time I filmed. It's very little info, so if I only have 1 to 2 sources, that's all I can use. I definitely don't want to perpetuate more rumor around your name. Not that my tiny channel makes a difference. I mean, if you were cleared by polygraph, though not admissible, we aren't a court, and it's used as a tool for a reason. Thank you for sharing, and I really can't imagine how your life must have changed for the worse, especially with everything that Disappeared episode insinuated, end quote. So I guess he had mentioned that as soon as the cops heard that, and I immediately agreed. That was something I was actually thinking about this case all along. I'm not sure if I mentioned it in the last video, but it was back here. Not here, back here. So I missed half of his response, but I can give you the rest of it. It says something about my reputation has been ruined. I think it says ruined. Quote, because of all this, and people I have never met and don't know me from Adam would bet the bank that I did it because of all the publicity that this case has produced. I know that there are always 3 sides to every story, but what I tried to do was not tell a story. I just want Miss Carolyn to have closure, and that would be good enough for me, end quote. Then he said, quote, Gemma Jade, you are actually the first person I've commented on. I'm sorry if I came across as a dick. That wasn't my intentions. But after all this time, the fact that somebody has remained silent baffles me to this day. Somebody has got to know something, and do you have any idea how hard it must be for a, quote, tweaker to keep a secret? I figured somebody said something to someone who also told someone else probably the first week he went missing. Maybe the cops Haven't talked to the right people. Like I said before, I told them everything I knew about that night, end quote. And I got a piece of my response that said, I also agree with that statement, but again, it's a true crime channel and addiction and recovery. And I only have what I have to work with. And that disappeared episode was seen by millions. I have to rewatch the video because I don't remember being that, and that's where it ends. But I was saying I don't remember being like that against him, like putting it out there so much, but I still haven't been able to rewatch the video. I've had no time. But if he feels that I did, then I'm going to respect that. And I also told him like that I understand. I have no agenda. My channel's not monetized. I just want to help the families and bring justice. And I told him my channel is actually an addiction recovery channel if you look at my other videos. And I saw that he subbed. So I hope, Larry, that you're still subbed and you're going to hang with us on Hot Mess Recovery. I hope this makes your life a little easier. I know that it probably won't, but it's the least I can do, I guess. And the reason I'm going out of my way like this for this man is, like I said numerous times, one, I believe it was Larry, and two, I do believe him. So what happened to Clinton? I don't know. But if he was on the phone with somebody, not just calling somebody, Larry said on the phone with someone. How did the police know that he spoke to his father at 10:30? Well, I guess they could have spoken to his father. I don't know that they ever found him. Yeah, they never found his phone. Why couldn't they just check his phone records? What happened between 8:30, and I'm purely speculating right now. What if he got picked up? Something happened with the person that picked him up and he had to flee, but maybe he was dibble-dabbling that night. I didn't ask Larry. I don't like to get people into people's personal information about what kind of drugs they use and stuff like that when it comes to something like this. Guys, I'm not a reporter. I'm not out for blood. I'm not anything for a story. So I hope that this clears a lot of things up. Please, like I said, if you're confused, go back and watch the Clinton Nelson video. I mean, why not? My regular subscribers, you say that you love my true crime videos. You can go back and see how awkward and uncomfortable and twitchy and anxious I was in my second true crime video. Larry, again, thank you so much for reaching out, and please consider me a friend if you ever need to talk. And anything else that we talk about is not going to be put on my channel. I just said I would do this for you, and I wanted to do this for anyone else who comes along. I know I repeated myself a lot, but I need to make myself very clear as to why I'm doing this. Please be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you like what you heard, if you like what you see, if you want to see more of Gemma Jade. Subscribe if you haven't already. I have some pretty amazing things coming up. Guys, I just want to talk to you. I keep saying my podcast is coming next week. Steve's doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff that I really don't know about. As anxious as I am to get it out, we want it to be absolutely perfect, especially the first episode. We want it to blow everyone away. We're still going to try to get it out this week, but I'm not sure exactly when it's airing. But I expect all of you guys, especially the ones I talk to constantly in the comments and emails, my friends, to go over and subscribe as soon as Strange Things with Steve Stockton and Gemma Jade is up. It's just audio, guys, but it's going to have some cool visual. You know, Steve's kind of like the master. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but my ankles keep cracking. Sorry, that's what that noise is. Haven't had a Red Bull today. And one other thing, as I mentioned in the last video, I am not monetized. A few of you have asked me if I have Patreon. Patreon is really hard to do for someone with less than like 100,000 subscribers or 10,000. I don't remember what Steve said, but I believe him. I would never be able to do Patreon only content right now because I have such a full plate with being a full-time stay-at-home mom, working on the podcast, trying to keep my house in order, take care of my 2.5-year-old, film and edit videos, right? So I can't do that right now, but I promise you guys when I can, I will. When I can get a webcam that is compatible with my computer, I am going to start going live. And that's going to be really fun because I'll go live from like the craziest places. I'm actually about to go film where I saw the Glimmer Man. And with that being said, my PayPal donation link, my PayPal Me donation link is going to be in the description of this video. And I also put it in the description of a bunch of other videos that I've done. If you guys are able to and want to support me and the channel financially so I can do things like get a webcam, so I can buy Kratom from a better place and actually try something that's good and that works, so I can inform you guys, so that I can get a microphone because I know my videos are a little bit lower. That's why I'm talking louder. so I can get a better background for things for the channel and also to keep me going. If you guys are able, I would really appreciate it. Click that link and hit donate. Every tiny bit helps, whatever you can do. And if you can't, of course, I love you anyway. Thank you so much for tuning in again and for supporting me emotionally and just supporting my channel. The love on this channel is amazing. Guys, continue being kind to each other, continue being decent, continue trying to give people the benefit of the doubt, even though I know in this crazy world, especially in 2020, it's really hard to trust. But we have to open our hearts. We have to have faith in people. Because if we lose our faith in people as humanity, we're going to be destroyed. I love you guys. Tune in for the next video. I don't know what it's going to be yet. It's probably going to be Dulce Maria Alaves, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to try to stop doing that too. So, like, telling you this is what's next. Because I have like 10 scripts written. All right. Love you guys. Have your best day. Have your best night. And be sure to leave me a comment. All right. Let's discuss. Bye-bye.